Hi, my name is Siddhartha Bhandari. I am an education consultant with Interlace Studies. In these videos, we are explaining international students from around the world how should they plan their study in Australia. We are helping them to select the career, to select the university, how to get into the Australian job market, and what are the skills that students should develop in order to be successful in Australian job industry. In this video, we are going to explain about the history of vocational education system in Australia. In order to get benefit out of any system, you should know from where that system developed and what are the steps that it took to reach the stage that it is in. And Australian vocational education system has an interesting history as well. You probably know the modernist Australia started from 1788 when British Empire colonized Australia. So British started to move like their convicts from British jail to Australian colony. And after some time, like other individuals or voluntarily, British people started to migrate to Australia. And Australia did not have like infrastructures that was available in UK and Europe at that time. So, and of course, Australia was very far from Britain. And the first fleet in 1788 that like British convicts and other people came from Britain, it took 8 months and 15 days to travel. And when they were in Australia, they didn't know like what the agricultural system is suitable for Australia and how are they going to survive. So when this first recent migrants to Australia get into there, they needed the skills to develop their agriculture or manufacturing or so many things. So their initial emphasis was to develop skills and then to solve the problem they faced at that time. And that the problem was developing house, like manufacturing and growing different crops, and then, like water systems, sewage system, and so many things. And when they getting started from, developing or at least establish some basic system, they started to develop systematic education of vocational system. And at that time, the vocational education system, at that time, I'm talking about 1900, it was about getting into learning from the job. You learn from the experts and then you learn the skills. And that was okay, but Australia realized, Australia is a big country. It has 6 states and territories. The people or the students who are learning from the experts, they are having different set of way of doing. So Australia decided to formalize its vocational education system, and then it somehow developed national vocational training system. And in 1970s, so many vocational institutions were available there at that time, and Australia came up with a National Vocational Training Institute called TEF. You might have heard it. TEF means tertiary, it's a vocational tertiary education institution, and it is government funded. From 1970 to 1990, this government funded this technical and further education TEF institutes has monopoly. And in 1990s, Australian government, when many international students started to come to Australia for vocational education, Australian government allowed private sectors, you might have called RTO. RTO means Registered Training Organizations. They allow to teach students. That way, a new vocational institution developed in 1990s. And those private at the moment, almost 5,000 registered training organizations in Australia. And those many registered training organizations, and then government funded TIFF is like they are teaching thousands and thousands of, hundreds of thousands of international, at the same time Australian students. So when we look at the summary of the history, Australian vocational education system is very much job oriented, very much combined with the problem that they are trying to solve. So we recommend the students to know like how this system developed and why this system developed the way it developed, and then look from the abstract perspective where I really fit in this system, and that helps you to get the job and of course to develop the career you would like to get in.